Hello again. I'm back, and I guess I had to do this episode at some point because today we're discussing 3 common misconceptions about Bruce Wayne. Before we strap in, I'd like to thank my wonderful patrons for making these episodes possible, links below. Now this episode is probably going to be weirdly brief and kind of packed. Why? Well, Bruce is 1 year older than Dick. He has decades of comics, games, movies, cartoons, and more to pull from. As a result, he's kind of been it all, from a quirky and affable detective hero to a socially conscious vigilante who won't penalise rioters, to an invasive thug and murderous despot. Sometimes he'll refuse to allow Jason anywhere near Gotham for killing a mob boss, and for some reason Jason agrees. In others, he's fine working with Bane because the guy might be his half-brother. The point is, Bruce isn't the most consistent character even by the standards of someone with dozens to possibly hundreds of writers throughout their history. This means one can justify almost any take on him, and it's really only the surrounding context that needs to be addressed. As a result, this episode is going to be heavily focused on Fanon. So let's go! Point 1. Batman's no metas in Gotham rule seems to be an entirely fan-made fabrication, born of Bruce generally being territorial and not wanting anyone working in Gotham. This attitude even applies to Gotham locals, no matter how skilled or how well equipped or how generally good. As a general rule, he just wants to control who operates and how and everything else about it. As it is, the closest I've come to finding proof of this was Jim Gordon being kind of snippy with Hal Jordan in one comic page. And honestly, the no metas rule never made any sense to me to begin with. Even ignoring Croc, Bane, Ivy and such, Black Canary's been operating Gotham for years, let alone several magic superheroes and more recently Duke. Batman doesn't have a thing against metas. He hates everyone equally. Okay, on to point 2. Bruce Wayne is not the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. At least not usually. This applies to Tim Drake and the pre-boot times as well. Neither of them were CEOs. That was Lucius Fox's job. What they were/are is the primary shareholders. They don't actually run the company or handle everyday business dealings. They just kind of exist 90% of the time and make money. God, I both hate that and am jealous of it. Anyway, on to point 3, Bat Dad. This is one of those ones heavily reliant on which canon you're drawing from and what time period. The Batman 2000 needed a bit of time to figure out how being a caretaker works, but otherwise shaped up into a great parental figure. Pre-Jason's death, Bruce was a good father to him by most metrics, though not without some tension. During and before this era, his relationship with Dick would oscillate based on the needs of drama, but up until the point where Dick needing to be independent so that he could be popular on his own was a plot point, their relationship was really good. And let's not even get into Wayne Family Adventures, that thing is basically just a fluff fanfic brought to life. But then there's more recent comics, relatively speaking, where he beats his kids, is emotionally manipulative, abusive, invasive, or just all kinds of terrible. Sometimes, despite that, the story says he's a good dad, but accepting that read usually involves glossing over or ignoring a lot of stuff. How did you lose your youngest child that easily, and why are you so blasé about it? And then there's sometimes where he's just kind of bad at it, but not like aggressively so, such as his relationship with in Batman the Animated Series and the ensuing Gotham Knights. The general point here isn't yay or nay on good dad Bruce, but more of a point about context. Generally speaking, prior to one of his kids dying, usually Jason, Bruce can work his way up to messy or outright good to even a great parental figure. Usually, if he's lost a child, he'll be significantly more unbalanced, even if you get him a replacement teenager. But even beyond that circumstance, there's just a general matter of what period of time, what reboot, what series, etc. you're playing in. I think this one really gets to me because I sometimes encounter some very aggressive pro-Bat Dad people who view any example of him being less than stellar as just wrong rather than just a different story. Like, I'm not a fan of him treating his kids badly. Stephanie is literally my favourite DC character, and so much of her relationship, timeline, and character is defined by how badly she's been treated by him. Before the reboots, at least. But I'm also not just going to go around and pretend that these very long-term comics didn't happen or that they had no impact on the various characters. The point is, at this stage in his life, with as many incarnations as Batman as there have been, it's hard to say who he is. Bruce has the almost opposite problem of Mario, who as a mascot has no personality. Bruce has all the personalities, and thus, as a result, it is very hard to nail down anything close to a consistent characterization for him. Yeah, I guess we're done for now. Sorry if that was a short one. As I said, Batman kind of has so much content that putting down a solid nay or yay is kind of impossible, so it's mostly just about clarifying things. If you would like to help support these episodes and get early access to scripts, videos, stories and art, please hit up my Patreon. If you would like to commission 3D art, please swing by my coffee and we can chat. For now though, that's all. Thanks for stopping by.